Hey everybody, Brimstone here, and I wanted to bring you this article I found for some comic books that basically brings back Punisher to form. Now, I don't know exactly what they did to Punisher in the first place, as I am in the past 5 years, I had just started getting back into collecting. And seeing the state of a hobby that I've loved and just haven't had the money to get back into is some serious next level stuff. Like they have done a lot of damage over the past, oh God, 20, 25 years. And I am behind the curve on this, but you know what? I'm still going to speak out against it. And I hate it when they start messing with things that don't need to be messed with. As I was taught, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So here we go. Apparently, John Bernthal, Marvel. Thank you, John Bernthal, for Marvel Comics bringing back the Punisher. Now, apparently, they're doing a 6-issue run of this. I've got it on order, so if you want to see reviews of it, let me know. But yeah, John Bernthal to thank for Marvel Comics bringing back Frank Castle, the Punisher. To catch you up to speed, the woke weirdos at Marvel Comics did away with the Punisher back in 2022. They're bringing him back. I guess stuff in sales. Sales have suffered. They changed the logo and replaced the character as they've done with tons of other characters that have also failed. All also failed, which includes Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Nino Nova, Ironheart, which we will be doing reviews of that show, Captain Falcon, and the list goes on. Marvel even went so far as to completely destroy Frank Castle by removing the very reason he's the Punisher. They brought back his wife from the dead, leaving Frank demoralized and forsaken by his resurrected wife, Maria, per IGN. I'm like, they brought back his wife, which completely diffused the Punisher because they can't kill him because there'll be more backlash. But if they diffuse him and take away all his anger, they can do whatever they want with him because people will just lose interest. Well, the reason they got rid of Frank is they hate what the Punisher represents. Many people in the police and military in the real world are inspired by the Punisher and even use his logo. Well, the wokies hate that. They hate the police, they hate the military, and of course they hate Trump. So they did away with the Punisher. They made Frank give up his war on crime and replaced him with a different character. How well that go for sales? The most recent series was canceled after 4 issues. 4 issues. Horrible. Frank Castle returns and Punisher Redman. I have this on order, and honestly, I am excited for this. Back to John Bernthal. We don't know if he is directly to thank. More on that below. But Marvel Comics has announced a new series where Frank will be back as the Punisher with the original Skull logo. And I got to admit that art looks freaking great. Got an Uzi right there. You got the shotgun. You got the tack gear, combat knife, grenades, ammo. God, that looks good. This all new 5-issue limited series, Punisher Red Band, written by Benjamin Percy and Julius Apua, Ota, Japanese, which is released this September. There's another one, little John Bernthal little John Bernthal inspired there. Looks pretty good. Not my style of art that I enjoy, but still really good. Looks like they're trying to mimic some Alex Ross stuff, so that could be interesting. Frank is back, and here's a synopsis. Reread and reload, true believers. Frank Castle is back. With no memories, a full clip, and a thirst of wrathful vengeance, his violent searches for answers could only be chronicled in a Red Band series. Bullets will fly, blood will flow, and the citizens of New York City alike will fear the name The Punisher. There's a little bit of a throwback cover. Get a very 80s vibe off this one. That looks really good. Frank Castle is back in an R-rated book. The writer added to the press release, Frank Castle, the dark-hearted vengeance machine that monster who fights monsters, is one of my all-time favorite character, and The Punisher is a series I've been wanting to write for a long time. Not only is Frank back, but it's also a red book. You know what that means. We are going to lean fully into push the very limits of your favorite genre, my favorite genre, hairy psychopaths. This is going to be gritty and as bloody as it gets. Street level mayhem awaits you. Julius Ota, who I celebrated with previously online with Hellervine, is bringing all blood and fire and rage to the page in beautiful, terrifying art. So it looks like Frank took some hits here, but that's what he does, and he just eventually heals up and walks it off. So we got that. That's good. Bernthal is back as a Punisher in TMCU. Of course, John Bernthal has returned to the Punisher in Daredevil Reborn Again series on Disney Plus. Bernthal is also developing a spin-off series of Punisher series special for the streamer. Now, I don't have any faith in that series, and Daredevil Born Again was shit because it had nothing to do with the Born Again comics. They're just, again, taking the name for brand recognition. But worse is the scenes between John Bernthal and the guy who played Daredevil were absolutely fantastic. Those got cut out. I saw clips, and they looked absolutely fantastic. But I don't check into the MCU anymore. I have lost faith that they will do anything right, and they will not screw things up because they can't write. They can't do what they need to do because they don't go back to the comic books for reference. They just do whatever they think is best, which is not good. John Byrne, starring in Spider-Man 4. Now Marvel Comics is bringing Frank Castle back as a Punisher. Coincidence? Nope. Marvel Comics sellout Tom Brevoort. I really dislike that human being. He is more and more proof of why you fail upwards in the comic book industry, just like you do Hollywood. Admitted that the comic only served to create fodder for eventual film development. That probably explains why 50% of comic shop have failed and the MCU has completely tanked. Here's another lovely panel. Got to have those sensors on there. Disney and Kevin Feige are the worst thing to happen to Marvel Comics. I am inclined to agree. The bozos at Marvel Studios are trying to come up with their own ideas and are telling the comics people to follow suit. Instead of being inspired by the comics, which is what made the MCU so good when it first started, they're pulling their own ideas in the putting their own ideas in the comic to test how it looks first. Again, this is how's that working out? Yeah, the only comics that are going like gangbusters and selling off the shelves are freaking Ultimate Spider-Man and most of the DC Absolute comics. Absolute great runs. I'm not a DC guy for the main characters. My favorite DC characters are Etrigan and the Question. But I'll never see them in theaters. Thank God for that. By comparison, Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, James Gunn, and the Russos are all fans of comics. I would question James Gunn. They were inspired by their love of comics and developed the MCU post-Endgame. Marvel producers told their directors not to read comics. No surprise there, given the state of the MCU. Disney and Kevin Feige are the worst things that have happened to comics. They'd be best leaving Marvel Comics completely alone. MCU fans don't buy comics, and Disney and Feige have ruined the business. I'm inclined to agree. Thank you, John Bernthal. So thank you, John Bernthal, for bringing back the Punisher. We need more creatives like Bernthal to keep fighting the good fight. This is what he said back in 2021 about the Punisher and making sure the Punisher is done right for the MCU. The character in particular has a real deep meaning for me and the resonance in me. He's really in my heart, man, and it's really in my bones. I'm enormously protective of the character. I've said that before, that there's nothing in this world more important to me than my wife, my kids, and my family. And only until you understand that kind of love and what it really means to willingly die for somebody do you understand what it's like for somebody to have them taken all away from you. That's a road and a darkness and a rage that it really scares me, and it brings me places that I've worked for 20 years to get away from. So I was really grateful and respectful and weary of places where the role took me, and the world in which I had lived in. That being said, that being said, that's where the character needs to be. It needs to be a level of darkness. I think that there's any let up on the character, you just do a disservice to the character, to every iteration of the character, to every comic book that came before. And all of that unbelievable fans of the character. This is the character means so much to people in the military. So like I said before, it's not about whatever It's not about whatever you do with the character. It's about what you can do it right. And I'm not interested. I'm only interested in doing it right. Man, John Bernthal as a Punisher was absolutely fantastic. Ray Stevens was just as good in Jigsaw, but I really, really love the Thomas Jane Punisher. He was my personal favorite. Keep the red color. There's another panel there. But yeah, so we are getting a good old-fashioned Punisher comic, 6 issues. Did John Bernthal help? Maybe. People saw the reaction to the classic Punisher in the show, and they lost a lot of money. Tom Brevoort and Kevin Feige keep messing up comics. And it's getting more and more ridiculous every day that they're doing this. But hey, people, as long as people keep buying it, but eventually not enough people are going to buy it, and they're going to have to pull the plug. So let me know what you think of the comments below. You're going to grab this new Punisher book. You're going to hold off and wait. I, for one, will be getting it. Have it ordered at my local comic shop. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And you have yourself a great rest of your day.